This is Jeremy Duran, and this is No Holds Podcast. We're striving to have real and raw conversations with real and raw responses. No holding back on what you feel or believe. This isn't your ordinary Christian podcast. We are unscripted and unedited, a conversation with questions that are not commonly asked or talked about in the local church. What's up, guys? This is Jeremy with No Holds, and I have Cody Giesbrecht in the building. Man, what's up, bro?
I'm doing good.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. How was school today?
It was great.
That's good, man. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I turned 13 in September. My favorite hobbies are to draw. I have an average kid's life at home. And I'm in 7th grade, and yeah.
Heck yeah, man, that's awesome, man. You know, we're doing a little something different today. You know, usually I'll have an adult in here, or not, somebody that's pretty much graduated, I guess, an adult, yeah. But I decided to go with somebody in junior high, and I think the reason why is because the topic for today is bullying. And I know whenever I was younger, I was bullied, and it was probably around the same age, pretty much. Cody, have you ever been bullied before?
Actually, I've gone through all the normal age groups of grades, and the only grade I have not been bullied or picked on a little bit, somewhere here and there, is 4th grade.
4th grade. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, 4th grade, I feel like my teachers were more there to defend me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, before anything even happened, she'd be there, and she was an awesome teacher.
Oh, heck yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Were you bullied, like, physically, verbally?
Physically, I get pushed around, you know. Actually, I know this one time, somebody took my glasses, when I used to have glasses. Verbally, a lot. I've been, called names.
Mm.
That's the average one. I haven't been cyberbullied because, I don't have social media and I don't have a service hooked up phone. But verbally, I have also been, how do you say it? Been called names, and I've been, physically, about how I look and stuff, physically called. Things like that, yeah. And it's pretty hard to deal with sometimes.
Oh yeah, I would say I started getting bullied probably when I was in, it probably started when I was in 4th grade. And it went all the way till I was in 8th grade. I was bullied by guys and girls. Of course, growing up with it was just with a single parent was my mom. She taught me how to respect girls, so I would never say anything back to them. I would never push them or anything. And even the guys would push me around. They would call me names. The girls, of course, it was mainly verbally. I remember. I even remember what they used to call me. They used to call me Crying Cracker. I don't know why. I know the crying part. In my last podcast, I was explaining to him that I was real emotional back then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I cried. I cried like a baby back then, and they made fun of me because of that. Which it's like, okay, the guys would literally, they would call me names and I would cry. They would push me and I would cry.
Mm-hmm.
The girls, same thing. Call me names, I would cry. What they used to do, and man, I still remember, is they would take my shoes. Crazy, yeah. It's a crazy thing. They would take my shoes and I would start crying. But though I had one person, pretty much to defend me, and that was my cousin. He was always there, pretty much until high school. If one of the guys was picking on me, I would say, hey, this so and so is picking on me. He was like, okay. And he'd go handle it. With the girls, it was a little different. He'd kind of be like, okay, give them his shoes back, you know, or whatever they did. Then they would calm down, but it pretty much happened all the way until 8th grade. And I didn't know how to, honestly didn't know how to deal with it. I never told my mom about it, but she's probably gonna hear it and, you know, she'll probably call me later and say, hey, I didn't know this. But, so, how did you deal with it? How are you dealing with it right now?
Right now, my mom didn't say this, but she found it somewhere, and she kept, every time because I tell my mom, and she told me this one quote from somebody: hurting people hurt people. Oh, yeah. And so every time even till today, I get somewhere along, junior high isn't that infested with it because it's not like you're in a class with the same person all day. Mm-hmm. But here and there in the hallways, I'll get pushed around by somebody or something in a little bit, and then I go off. But every time when I get pushed around, get called names, or anything like that, I just think of how bad probably their life is at home. Yeah. And how much they just need love, and they shouldn't. Don't show them that you can't don't show them that you're vulnerable, because that makes them want to do it even more. Because the mindset is, I know I've known, because I've been hurting sometimes yet too, that when you're hurting, you want to take it out on somebody. Yeah. And then when you see that they're hurting, that you make them hurt, every time you get hurt, you want to go to them and take it out on them. It can be very hard sometimes, but that phrase always sticks with me: hurting people hurt people. Because you think about all these people's lives, and even today with social media, you can get bullied on there too. Oh yeah. And that's one thing I'm glad for, that my parents haven't given me social media. I'm not allowed to have it, which is good, because also another thing that leads to bullying is suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety. Oh yeah. And then just because of those problems, you can get bullied. And if you have those problems, some people bully because they have problems like that. Mm-hmm. You actually have a 70% chance, if you spend 4 or more hours on a device on social media a day, of having depression and anxiety and bipolar. Oh yeah. And yeah, I've gotten used to handling it, because, well, it used to happen a lot. First grade is like I got bullied a lot then. In pre-K, it was a private school. It used to be called SMS. It was pre-K, and these kids were still shoving me around. At recess, they'd always make fun of me and my cousin, because we had these friends and they were girls, because we had friends. And I don't know, people bully other people that have what they want. And you don't be mean back to them, because you don't know if they're going to go home crying because they don't have a good life. Yeah. And so that's my advice. Don't hurt the people that are hurting you back, because just think of this: you're making their life a lot worse when you should be loving them. Oh yeah. Turn the other cheek. Mm-hmm. When they make fun of you, be nice to them. The next day they show up and they're needing maybe a pencil in class, and the teacher has a rule: you go to lunch detention if you don't have a pencil. Because I know there is some pretty strict teachers out there. Yeah. So be the person to give them the pencil. Be that person. Because honestly, as Christians, if we're not that person, then who will be? Yeah, you're right. Because God puts those people in our path on purpose. He gives us those chances. And I'm not saying do it for the blessings, but just think about how much He's going to bless them through you. How much they're going to get loved, and they're going to just, man, I mean, I had a friend, that person used to bully me a lot. I mean, like, actually, he's my best friend today. He actually started going to church, and so it started in second grade. He was a new kid, and in second grade, everybody's a little feisty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so it doesn't even matter if you go to church, you're still a little feisty on the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were taking a restroom break, and we decided to push each other into the girls' bathroom and just make fun of each other. And then we started from then on for the next next semester, we actually started hating each other. Because I actually heard him complain this one time. He's like, man, now I can't play on my iPad this week because we both got a snip. And we actually started hating each other until actually half a year. I don't know what happened. Something happened, and we started talking to each other. And it made a difference. We started being friends. And then fourth grade, we didn't really hang out that much because, there's sometimes those breaks. And then all the way till today, he's been my friend. He's been there whenever I need him. He's been there to encourage me. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I turned him. Probably he turned me, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, and if you have friends like that are bullying and stuff, don't walk away from them. You can actually, if you live a godly life in front of them, make sure you know who's influencing who, and you can improve their life for the better. Because most of the time, if somebody's hurting somebody else, it's because they're hurting them for their problems.
Oh, yeah. I love what you said about, just love on them. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we sometimes forget to do is just love on people. Yeah, they may be treating us the wrong way. But if, let's, like you said, turn the other cheek. Love on them. I wasn't really, I was raised in church a little bit, but not a whole lot, So the way I dealt with it was different. Like I said, I wasn't really raised in church, so my freshman year was the last time anything ever happened. This guy had started bullying me probably since the 4th grade. And I still remember, it was in science class. I had my cousin, this is a different cousin, totally different cousin. He was in class with me. And he started talking about him because the teacher had left. So he started saying something, and then I think he said something about my aunt. And I got fed up with it. So I was like, you know what, man, your mom. That was all I said. I said, your mom. Probably not the best thing to say ever, yeah. But I said it anyway because I was like, man, I'm tired of just getting pushed around. Mm-hmm. So when I said that, the whole class looked at me. And they're like, did that just come out of Jeremy's mouth? Because like I said, I was bullied the whole time. And it was like, yeah, that came out of my mouth. And he stood up and he was like, what did you say? I said, your mom. So he got in my face, and as soon as he got in my face, the teacher comes in. He was the first one to say, he's talking about my mom. So what the heck? Like, you're supposed to be this tough guy, and then you want to open your mouth first to the teacher. Okay. We go out in the hallway, and he was like, he started it. Well, the teacher already knowing me, he sends him to the principal's office. Mm-hmm. And talks to me, and he was like, hey, what really happened? And I told him, and he was like, man, I thought you were better than that. Like, that's not how you were supposed to handle things. Yeah. But to me, I felt like that's what I needed to do so that they can stop. After that, I wasn't bullied anymore. Mm-hmm. I pretty much stood up for myself from then on. Even now, which I don't get bullied now, probably by my wife. I'm just kidding, babe. No, but that was the way I handled it. like I said, I wasn't raised in church, so it was different. I was never in a fight. Didn't ever get in fights in high school, but there was some times where we were pushing around, and it could have got to that point, but ended up stopping. You see, it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I was raised in church, I'd probably done it the same way you did. I would just turn the other cheek and just love on them. And I love how you said, you know, if they need a pencil or something, hey, bless them with a pencil. You know, love on your enemy. That's a hard thing to do sometimes, especially getting pushed around.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure. What about now? Like, what is a time that you were kind of tired of it? Did you ever just think of it in your mind, like, man, what if I just end it right now?
Actually, so for me, I'm just gonna say this, I don't care if people are watching, because for me, I was one of those people, I'd get bullied at school, and then when I went home, I would cry because it hurt. And actually it happened in first grade, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk about. There was this kid who was calling me names, and he would push me around, like, not your regular just shove in the hallway, shove me onto the ground. And I had a really good teacher, and not to be rude, but I don't think she's alive anymore because she got diagnosed with cancer.
Mm.
And he would push me around, and this is when I had to learn one of the hardest lessons I ever had to from my mom. It was one day I was fed up with it. I didn't want to take it anymore. And so he was talking about me. They made fun of my mom all the time. They didn't even know him. It was just to hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm. And that day he said something to me, and I just felt this urge of anger, and I said, "Shut up." He shoved me, slapped me across the face, did some other stuff. Teacher wasn't there. It was at recess. And then the next day, I told my mom. The next day, I asked my mom what to do about it. And she told me, this is how I learned how to deal with my bullies. She told me, go take a Rice Krispie treat out of our cabinet. And then when you get to school, I want you to write a letter saying that here, not exactly that, like a mean letter, but like more of, hey, can you please stop bullying me? And I gave him this Rice Krispie treat, and actually from then on, he stopped. Like, he didn't bully anybody in our class anymore. The next year he started again, but I feel like once I showed him some love, everything just started changing, you know? And actually 4th grade, I did actually get bullied a little bit, just not as much as the other years. The first day, actually, this one person, I can tell by the way he acts and stuff, he does not have a very good life. And it's sad, really.
Yeah.
And first day, he called me something, and the teacher was there, so she took care of it. It wasn't that bad to where he had to go to the principal's office, but he called me something, and it hurt. And then nowadays, I'm nice to him. I show him some love every now. We're like acquaintances.
Yeah.
I don't see him everywhere, and it's once you show love, it's like everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's. So we have our bus, and these kids would play, music that had cussing and to do with drugs and all this. And it was very disturbing, especially they'd have it on speakers and stuff. And our bus driver, she's Christian, she did not like it. But I'm not trying to be mean, but she lacks authority. She needs more authority, and she needs to be a little bit braver on standing up to kids, because the kids will always talk back, and I can tell it hurts her feelings too. And every time they'd play music, instead of having, well, I'd go tell her because other people didn't really like it. And then they'd make fun of me and call me, normal tattletale and all this. But I honestly didn't care. And then until later on, now they don't play, they actually, when they're on the bus, they don't listen to that kind of music anymore. I don't know about at home, but I haven't seen them ever listen to that music again, ever. And I mean, and it's crazy because that was like maybe 10 or 15 kids.
Yeah.
It was literally, they live in a group of houses all together, and it was this big group of kids, and I'm just, now they like me. I don't know, it's like, well, I could tell that they don't have too much of a good life either, and so they got used to, cussing and stuff. So every now and then you'll hear a cuss word and stuff, but other than that, they're pretty cool once you get to know people, especially the people that bully you, because, I mean, everybody's unique, they're different.
Mm-hmm.
They have, who knows, they probably have a lot of similarities to you. And so that's why it's always good to love and not hate.
Oh yeah. It's crazy that you said that, because I got to know the guy that bullied me.
Yeah.
And like, we're friends right now, friends on social media. Not too long ago, he sent me a message wanting prayer. He knew that my life had changed.
Yeah.
And of course, man, like, I'm always willing to pray for somebody. And for him to do that, I knew that he had to humble himself to just step out there. And he kind of pretty much told me what was going on. And I'm like, heck yeah, dude, like, for sure, man, like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
For different people, I mean, I've never been cyberbullied. Of course, back then we didn't have social media, pretty much didn't even have a phone until I was a senior in high school. But even at that, it was, it's not like the phones that they are today, but right now, have you ever been bullied right now?
Oh, actually just recently. I don't know, I was walking through the hall. It's a normal, average, similar junior high life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking through the hall with my friend. My friend speeds up a little bit. I mean, he has different classes and he has to get there faster. And then there was this one kid, and he used to bully me a lot. Well, and then I looked at him, and then he felt, I don't know, but it looked like he was like very disturbed that I looked at him, and he like shoved me, and I like flew into the wall. I mean, I didn't fall and drop all my stuff, but I flew into the wall. And it was weird because, well, in junior high, I haven't really gotten bullied that much. I mean, bullied and just being made fun of every once in a while. I don't know if they're the same thing, but I do know that there are these kids. There's actually this one kid in my science class right now. I don't know why, he just really doesn't like me. So the iPads that we were given are restricted on things like YouTube, music, and stuff like that. No videos and anything like that, but people they look up hacks and stuff, how to get there. And manipulation and stuff, but he'll play music, they'll get on their phones. And my teacher, actually, he said to us in the beginning of the year that when he was younger, he used to drive tractor a lot, and his ears got shot or something like that, where he can't hear that good. So on the other side of the room, they can be playing on their phones and stuff, and all this, and he doesn't notice. And it's one of those kids, that one kid, it's one of those kids who say they don't know English, but they really do, and then they use it as an excuse. And every time I look at him and talk to him and stuff, he's always, I'm pretty sure he's cussing at me and calling me names, because this one time his friend Jesus was there, and he called me a name, and he started laughing, like he's like, "Do you know what he just called you?" And I was like, "No, because I don't know Spanish." And they're always playing games and stuff, and I feel like they're just taking advantage of the teachers these days, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because these teachers are here to help us learn, and they're just being plain out rude to them. Honestly, there are days I just want to tell him about what they're doing and stuff, but then you think of afterwards how much they're gonna be to you.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't scare you, because, I mean, even now, I'm on a podcast and I'm telling people how to deal with being bullied, and yet I'm still being bullied some. And so...
But you're bold for doing that, though.
Yeah.
Me, when I was bullied, like I said, I kept it in the whole time. I didn't go tell my parents. I didn't go tell really my uncles. Like, I told one cousin, and I had some friends, but other than that, my cousin was the only one that knew I was being bullied. But what you're doing right now, I'm proud of you. You know, I'm glad you came in, you know, you decided to open up about it. Because bullying, man, is bad. Bullying, I think right now, I don't want to say it's at its worst, but, you know, you hear about people depressed, you know, being suicidal. You know, since you don't have social media, you know, I've seen stuff on social media to where, like, man, there'll be some guys just beating up on one guy. And then I'm like, well, what the heck? Like, man, what's going on right now? And I think it's because of what you said. It's because it's just love, you know. I think some of us forget how to love.
Yeah.
And some of us just don't know how to love. The ones that are being bullies are the ones that don't know how to love. And to me, I think it starts at home, like you said.
Yeah.
It's their lifestyle at home. Parents. If my daughters or my son Phoenix came home saying, "Hey, you know, I'm being a bully," or if we get a letter or a call like, "Hey, your son is bullying," oh man, you know, he's gonna have a good talk, you know. And so am I. I mean, same thing with my daughters. If that happens, like, oh yeah, they're gonna have a good talk. Like, man, I don't like when seeing anybody being bullied. But I'm glad you came on. I mean, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off. You were about to say some stuff. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to tell you, man, I'm very proud of you. And I think your parents too. You know, I can tell that the way they're raising you is awesome. You know how to love. And to me, it seems like you don't let the outside world distract you from what God wants, you know, pursue Him.
Yeah. There's these two things. So there's this place, you can look it up. It's called Adventures in Odyssey, and it's on oneplace.com. And there's this one that we listened to the other day. It was about this kid. He was raising money for the soccer team that he was on, and it was winter and they were shoveling. And he was out all day shoveling. His dad is in jail. And his dad had been sending him some money every time they go to see him, like that he's been making over there for his job. And what happened was that they had the big money box, and he finished it off, like he gave them the last amount of money, and then it was like a $3,000 trip that they were going to take to Europe and go play. And what happened is that he put it upstairs, he came back down, and then it was gone. And then there's this other kid, his name is Rodri Rathbone, and he's just bullying everybody. He's just the big jerk. And so he automatically assumed father like son, and so he's getting bullied this whole time because everybody thinks he's like his dad, but really his dad has changed since he's been in jail and stuff. And everybody just thinks he's just like his dad and stuff. And then what happens is he gets fed up. He doesn't start swinging, but he says some stuff, and then, well, what happened is then his mom, everybody had thought that he had been stealing, and then he goes out and he shovels more to get some money. His mom comes in his room because nobody knew where he was, and he came in all mad. His mom comes in his room, and he has a bunch of money, and she automatically assumes it's the stolen money. And so he runs out mad because everybody thinks that he's like his dad. And it turns out that money was money that his dad had sent him, and the money that he was saving to actually bail his dad out of jail. And so he used that to repay them, and then they find out that it was actually this little kid who was collecting stuff. It was Rodney Rathbone's little cousin. He was collecting stuff. He was maybe 5 years old, didn't know what it was. He collected some stuff, and then he saw it laying there, and he took it. He didn't even open it because there was a key there with it. But you know, the thing is that people are just so quick to assume. And I don't know, if you're getting bullied, don't let it get to you. Always know that you're loved, because I mean, there's just this one song, when I feel bad on a day and stuff. I mean, I have a bunch of downloaded music and stuff, so I go to Jordan Felice, You're Beloved, and I don't know, it changes my mood and everything. Because also, here's another thing. The schools, I know when I went to 4th and 5th grade, they had a bunch of posters everywhere. It said no bully zone. And it felt like it wasn't really, that they were lying, because like 4th and 5th, that was like most common where you got bullied. And 3rd and 4th and 5th was like where you got bullied.
No.
And the beginning of 6th, some 8th graders would pick on you, and 7th graders would just here and there call you a bunch of names and stuff. And I just, you can go talk to the counselors and stuff, but I feel like they need to enforce that more, because here's what happens. A bully, one kid has a bad life at home. Maybe they're getting mentally abused, like by names and things. And then they go to school, bully other people, they get hurt, turn into bullies, bully other people. It's just this big infection, and then the next time you see, next year there's double the bullies, because everybody's been hurting each other, and it just turns into more bullying.
No.
And that's what I also like about junior high, is that the counseling, they actually take it further. Like if you're having problems at home, you can tell them. And but like the counselors this year are amazing, because you can go in there and just speak from your heart what you feel. And I mean, they have degrees on it and everything, so they're pretty much, they signed up for it, and they can really feel it with you.
Yeah.
Because especially the bullies that are getting hurt at home by their parents, or maybe their guardians, you don't know who, maybe their friends even. Because I know the other day I actually saw this kid from his friend in the hallway just grabbed his football and went, and then the next day I saw them again in the hall, and the other guy was asking where his football was, and he's like, "Oh, I'm keeping it." And it's like, people force other people to be their friends. Like first you're like, "Oh, it's all cool," and then you don't know what you get into.
Yeah.
honestly, you don't even know until, because I do know my cousins had a friend that they thought was all cool. And then next thing you know, their friend shows them that he has a vape, and they almost took a whiff of that. Because they had been with the friend so much, it was influencing them so much that they almost turned into that person.
Yeah.
And it's so dangerous because you don't want to turn into those people. Because honestly, if you get hurt by a bully and turn into a bully, your home life, you're going to mess up your home life. Like you're going to have a different attitude towards your parents, towards your sisters. And then the next 2 years goes by, you're not going to church anymore. Your parents are always on their phones, maybe. I mean, like, it's just absolute chaos because people need to, especially these few years, in the Bible it kind of talks about how in the last days the devil's going to start throwing everything he has. I don't know, I feel like in these last days, people need to know even more about how to deal with bullying.
Yeah.
So that they can stand their ground and not give in. Because there is so many kids who just, I don't know, the bullies themselves, they look so tough and stuff, but then when you really get to know them, they're the softest people ever.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, you think you cry and you go home and cry because you got bullied. Think about them, how they go home and cry because their home life is so bad. It's just so sad because there's like almost half of the people in the school nowadays, they don't have a good life.
Yeah.
And then that's where suicide kicks in. They just want to take themselves out because they think there's no more to life if this is just what's going to happen. That's why even more us as Christians need to reach out and reflect the light of God.
Yes, sir.
And that's actually what me and my mom were talking about on the way over here, was how she had to brighten up our room, because if you're actually in a dark environment, physically and spiritually, this is true. If you're in a dark environment, you start acting angrier, depressed, or if you're in a dark environment, you start acting more dark. And it's actually proven, okay, so the light fights the darkness. Light reflect, like white, the color white will reflect light.
Yeah.
The color black or dark colors will absorb light. And so what it reminded me of is like us as Christians, we need to be a light. We need to be the light.
Yeah.
The light color in all the other black. We need to reflect the light.
Yeah. That's good.
We need to reflect the light. Because if you're black, like, the dark, if you are spiritually in the dark, you absorb light, but you don't give it off. It's like being a two-face. At church, you're this person, at school, you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
You absorb all that God has, and then you just don't do anything with it. It's... Yeah.
That's good.
The next time you think of a bully, just think about their life, and I don't know. When you start doing like that, I feel like it's a lot easier to deal with things like that. Because you actually are, what's it called? Not brave, but brave, but you're more self-uplifting, things like that. You can lift yourself up. And actually, the other day my friend said something to me. I was like, man, like he really, that same person, he really stuck with me all these years. And it's just amazing what you can do, especially, just what I did in first grade. The first thing my mom told me to do, there's a couple steps. First thing you do if you start getting bullied, pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing, if it just keeps on happening, just love on them. And if not even that, I mean, honestly, I don't mean this offensively to people like that, but like, or not to be like embarrassing myself, but like, be a tattletale. You need to go tell the teachers. Because, I mean, I know they'll get punished for it, but here's the thing. Then they also know that you're not gonna put up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's another bad thing about it. They'll go to another person. The thing you really need to do is become their friend, influence them, and if it's still happening and you get to figure out what the problem is, go with them to the counselor. Or just pray for them even more.
Yeah.
Just love on them. That's where I have. If you're getting bullied, just love on them because that's all they need.
Yeah.
They need some love because, yeah. I mean, I know this one friend that I had. He was going through a pretty hard life at home, and he actually said that his parents had said to him one time, they got mad at him, and they said, "Oh, I wish we would have committed abortion with you." And actually, that actually happened to me. Somebody said that to me, that I should have been aborted, and I didn't know what it was. It actually happened last year. I didn't know what it was until I got home and I asked my mom. And I feel like I wish I kind of would not have known what it was.
Yeah.
Because then as soon as I knew what it was, it hit me and I was like just overwhelmed by, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, people are just, man, they can be so cruel.
Yeah.
And they won't, some of them don't even ever care.
Yeah. Some people just bully because they want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's because they're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And they just want somebody else to hurt.
Yeah.
How important is it to be involved in a youth group? Like, how has being in a youth group helped you? Like, I mean, you pretty much explained it, I guess, but.
Actually, being in a youth group is a lot. If you're in the youth, like, perimeter of your age, it's better to be in a youth group than an adult church, than a kids' church,
Mm-hmm.
because you're interacting with people at your level.
Yeah.
They're talking about things that your level of age goes through.
Mm-hmm.
It's for every group, it's talking to your age group directly. And I feel like that's even more important because I know I've gone to the adult church sometimes, and sometimes half the stuff I don't know what they're saying because I'm only in youth. I'm not an adult. I'm still down there a little bit. And it's not as easy to get up on the altar over there because it's not people your age that you know won't judge you or anything like that, because I know how to expand. Nobody's going to judge me.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're just free over there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, youth group, especially if you're in your age group, it's a lot better because it affects you more than it would if you're in a different age group.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah, that's why I like,
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. Youth groups, but also if I'm in a different age group, that age group, because it can help you. It'll help you a lot more if you're in your type of environment than if you're in a completely different environment and you don't understand half the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, Cody, I mean, dude, that was awesome, man. Dude, I love it. You know, that's what it's mainly about, is love. You gotta love, guys. Love is, man, very important.
Yeah.
You know, you heard it from him. Junior high. This dude is in junior high, speaking truth. That's fire right there, man. Well, I appreciate you, Cody. Appreciate your time, man, and that's all we have for today. So
I appreciate yours too, because people need to hear this.
yes, I believe it, man. Yeah, I know they need to hear it, man. I know it's all over the place. Bullying is everywhere. Doesn't matter your age group. I can be getting bullied right now, which I'm not, but like I said, maybe my wife might be doing it a little bit. But man, I appreciate you, Cody. I appreciate your boldness. Appreciate you just stepping up, man. I love it. But that's all that we have for today. Till next time, we out. Peace.